let's dive into our second and also last fireside chat that will highlight successes and also challenges from two established immersive companies, Ultraleap and Vr2. And for this fireside chat, I'm handing the mic over to Emily, Digital Catapult's immersive product lead, and also our moderator for the next fireside chat. So Emily, over to you to introduce yourself and also both of our speakers.
Oh, thanks so much, Leah, and thank you everyone for all the amazing pictures that we've heard this morning. It's been a really exciting Thursday morning event, so brilliant stuff. Thank you. So yeah, if I could just invite both Anders and Neil to turn on your videos. Hello, brilliant, excellent. So I am really excited today to be joined by Anders Hackfeldt, who's the SVP of Product and Marketing from Ultraleap, and then also Neil Broadley, who is the EMEA Commercial Director at Vr2. So I'm sure an awful lot of you have heard about both of these companies. They've both experienced amazing early stage growth over the past few years. Vr2 are obviously the Finnish startup that is really making a big impact on the global XR stage. It's fair to say you're totally rewriting the quality and the potential of what mixed reality headsets can do for the enterprise market, which is so exciting. You recently had your Series C round where you raised a substantial amount of money. So we will be very excitedly talking and digging into that, Neil, a little bit later. Ultraleap, of course, have been providing the kind of world-class hand tracking and haptics for the past few years. Again, you've had an incredibly exciting journey. You recently also raised your Series C round, and of course, are particularly notable for the fact that you must be one of the few Bristol startups to have acquired Silicon Valley technology company in order to grow and add to the product. So thank you both. I mean, I think the really exciting thing that brings it all together is that the two companies are now recently working together and integrating the two technologies for Vr2's new Vr2 Pro headset. So that also makes it really worthwhile us talking a little bit more about partnership strategy, etc. But let's kickstart. Would you be able to maybe both just say a little bit more about your roles and about some of the company's most recent developments that haven't really been summarised in what I've said? So let me hand over the mic first of all to Neil.
Hi, good morning, Emily. Good morning, everybody. Really pleased to be here this morning. Thank you for having me. So Neil Broadley. I, as Emily says, Commercial Director for Vr2 in EMEA and APAC. So in plain English, it basically means I look after the sales team across Europe, Middle East and Africa, and then our reseller network into Asia Pacific. Really exciting times for Vr2. If you haven't come across us before, we're the world's only company who create what we call human eye resolution, so true photorealistic visual quality VR, and also mixed reality headsets. And that combination of human eye resolution and true video pass-through mixed reality, which allows you to fuse the real and the virtual in a truly immersive way, where ultimately, if you do it well, you can't actually tell the difference between the two, is incredibly exciting. As Emily says, lots happening. I'm sure we'll get time to talk about it a little bit more this morning, but beginning of December, we actually launched our all new third generation headsets, the XR3 and the VR3. So a busy year with the new headset launches and the Series C fundraising, and also perhaps particularly exciting this morning is our XR3 and our VR3 also integrate Anders' fantastic Ultraleap Gemini version 5 software. So there's a great partnership between the companies. So maybe that's a good handover for Anders to introduce himself.
Great, and thank you, Neil and Emily. Great to be here. Good morning, everyone. And in celebration of what Neil mentioned, I chose the background today. This is the XR3 indeed, and it is the most advanced piece of extended reality kit you can get your hands on when it's available for shipping. So it's a really exciting time. And I think to give you a bit of context, my role at Ultraleap is to look after the product team, the marketing team, and our UX team, you could say our design team. So bringing together everything from user insight through to behaviors and how people actually engage with the world, through to how we build our products and take them to market. And the way I like to think of it is that what's ahead of us is an interface revolution, where we're so used to flat screens and keyboards and mice, but that's actually, it's a workaround. In the real world, we engage things in 3D with our hands. We use our senses in a very synergistic way. And I think what's happening now is the beginning of that revolution, a return to natural interaction, where equipment like the XR3 will enable us to actually leave the virtual and real to each other in this reality in a way that just wasn't possible before. So that, of course, needs a new interface where we can engage with this reality in a very natural way, and that's where we come in. So the software we bring into this new product is the latest generation of hand tracking software. So that's using stereo infrared cameras that track 27 points of your hands, each hand, and then converting that into a real-time feed of coordinates that enables us to know exactly what you're interacting with in space in real time. So very exciting time. And lots to talk about in the context of what's going on in that sector.
Brilliant. Well, thank you both. And you're right. And I'm not sure if it's my internet connection here. We might be a bit glitchy, so please do say, audience, if you're struggling to hear what we say. But I think let's first of all dig into exactly that, the coming together of your two bits of hardware and technology, because for any startup, that's a really critical move, which is how do you choose the companies and other technology partners to help grow your product. And trying to understand, maybe Neil, initially from your side, how as far as how some of that process and decision making went along in regards to building what the new Vario headset will have inside, and why you chose Ultraleap to really be that partner in making sure it had the very best. What's the kind of evaluation that you think other startup technology companies should be going through for these kinds of decisions?
Yeah, no, definitely, Emily. And I think it's perhaps useful also to tell this a little bit in terms of the history of the company as well, because all this is happening, as I'm pretty sure everybody on the call experiences, a very accelerated time frame. So we launched our first VR headset, which is called the VR1, perhaps unimaginatively, in 2019. And that at that point didn't have hand tracking technology, but we moved very rapidly towards the end of 2019 to introduce the Vr2 Pro, which for the first time combined the human eye resolution that Vario is famous for, the built-in eye tracking technology that we also have in the headsets, and the Ultraleap, at that point, the Ultraleap version 4 software. And the reason why we looked to bring that together was really to take the level of immersiveness up a notch. Now, as a company, as Vario, we only focus on enterprise workflows. So everything we do, from the hardware choices, but also crucially the software that underpins that hardware and enables that hardware, is designed to help enterprises be more productive and to achieve those workflows more successfully. And of course, one of the big challenges with any kind of immersive technology is just getting people over that hurdle that allows them to be productive, that takes away the feeling that I've got a headset on, or I'm using a particular bit of kit, and allows you actually to concentrate on the job at hand, because after all, that's what it's about. It's about the job at hand, not the technology you're using. And so in the same way that our human eye resolution allows you to get away from the fact that I can see everything in VR or mixed reality as I could in real life, our mixed reality technology allows you to interact with everybody else in the room as well as the virtual content at the same time. And having the Ultraleap technology integrated then allowed us to say, well, actually, if you want to use the traditional route, which was always controllers and steam controls and whatnot, and if anybody's ever been through that journey of helping people and teaching people how to use them, of course, if you're a power user, you're pretty quick and you're moving around and they're very precise. But for a general user and someone picking up the technology wanting to get to grips, the most natural thing in the world is just to put your hands up, right? And then interact, with the training simulation, adjust the car model, do your piece of medical surgery or whatever it is you happen to be doing in VR or mixed reality. But with the VR2, of course, we only had it in virtual reality. And then the big step for us was how can we work together as companies then to enable this in mixed reality? Because this is when it gets really, really powerful, because you get to the position where you can actually interact with virtual content in the real world, with your real hands. And that is just incredibly natural and an incredible powerful way to use the technology. Of course, by working together, we've enabled our developers to move very smoothly from the VR2 to the VR3 and the XR3. So again, building that continuity as both sets of products continue to evolve and improve, our developer community is able to come with us, and also, of course, all our customers are able to upgrade their products at the same time. So it's about synergies, but it's also about bringing that level of immersiveness. I think Anders was talking about earlier to the next level.
Yeah, and that's a great point you bring up, is that consistency, making product decisions at a point that allow a good roadmap of future development. I mean, Anders, obviously from Ultraleap's point of view, you've gone through a kind of similar journey to Vario in regards to how you acquired Leap Motion. This again was all about you guys bringing in a technology into your product to allow it to have that kind of vision that you saw. So maybe it would be really interesting as well to hear from you. How did the kind of Leap Motion acquisition, what were some of the product decisions that went behind that? I'm sure there was a whole load of business decisions that were being made, but from your point of view as SVP of product, why did it seem like the right thing to do at that time for the company?
It's a great question, and I think it highlights just how vibrant and fast-moving this ecosystem is. There are so many technologies at play, so many different companies experimenting and creating. So you got to keep your finger on the pulse, so to speak. But ultimately, for us, we started out as a haptics company with a patented technology for creating tactile feedback using ultrasound. So that's why we started as Ultra Haptics. And to be able to know exactly where to put the tactile sensations in space, we need very precise coordinates of where the hands are. So we worked with Leap Motion, as they were called back then, and their technology for several years. They were, in fact, part of our reference design. So obviously for us, it was very central to delivering a great quality of our core product at the time. We raised our Series C that closed towards the end of 2018. So we had funds available, and we were about to take the next step in our growth journey. And then it was serendipity, I would say, a combination of the fact that they were ready for a corporate event. They needed to make a change in their strategy and find a new home, so to speak. And then it just came together really, really quickly, partially because founders on both sides had a personal relation as well from the past, so they knew of each other and respected each other. So that of course helps, and it's an example of it's really useful to be out in the ecosystem, meet people, network, and have a sense for the adjacent possible, as it's called in innovation speak. What are the opportunities right next to your own core technology that would just make the solution or the user experience so much better?
That's such a brilliant point, and I think a really, really good kind of thought starter for all the startups that have been speaking today is, yeah, exactly, keep an eye on those that are potentially will be that little extra gold dust to help your product to continue growing. And I mean, Neil, I think we've got to talk about exactly what was brought up a little bit earlier by Pro founders. The fact that Vr2, of course, has done a really bold thing. It's a headset that's not only coming out of a European country, which in itself is quite unique, but also coming into a market that's dominated by some pretty big players. So I think it'd be really, really good to hear from you. How do Vr2 at the moment, how are you, getting your stake of the land, and how do you deal when, if you're a new tech company that's coming into a market that potentially has competitors, but also, of course, they're only competitors if you think they are really producing something that threatens your product. So how do you go about navigating that landscape and getting your slice of territory?
Great question, Emily. And yeah, I think it's fair to say we have some fantastic and very large companies as competitors. But I think the key for any small company, and just to give a bit of context, so Vr2, we're about 150 people globally, headquartered in Helsinki in Finland, and then we also have an office in Washington DC in the US. But I think the key to a company like Vr2 is focus. And that would be my kind of big, if I had one like big overarching message, is focus. And for us as a company, where we focus is on the enterprise, and we focus exclusively on enterprise workflows. So while someone's welcome to use one of our headsets for entertainment or gaming, we're not focusing there. We're focusing on creative industries like car design, architecture, engineering, construction. We're focused on training and simulation, both civilian, military, the energy space. Lots of companies that are looking to deploy things there, and then we focus on research and medical. But by focusing on the enterprise customers, we can ensure not only that the hardware delivers, which of course is critical, but also the software delivers. And I think we spend a lot of time talking about hardware, but for us, our software roadmap is as important as anything, and the two synergies together. So for example, last year we brought out 5 separate software updates during the year. For example, real-time chroma key, so like green screen technology like you see in the movies, real-time video shading and mixed reality, which allows people to simulate nighttime operations in a perfectly well-lit room, for example. And by bringing those tools to bear, other advantages it gives us is, for example, when you purchase a Vr2 headset and you take it into use, all of our users have dedicated 1 business day business support. So that means that anybody working with our headsets, developers developing our headsets, teams getting grips of our headsets, they're able to get the support that they need. Some of our customers even have dedicated Slack channels with our engineering teams, to really help them to succeed with that business tool. And I think by having that level of focus, and I don't need to go into our competition, there's some big household names there, that allows us to really kind of carve out and differentiate Vr2 in the whole, before we get into the product stuff, which I've already been harping on enough about this morning, and the resolution and the eye tracking and the mixed reality.
Yeah,
so focus is the big one.
You can, as you say, not only have the focus, but also offering that next level of customer service at the beginning, which of course should always be a key of a smaller company and be something that sets it apart. And I mean, Anders, would you say, in regard to Ultraleap as well, in regards to how you really navigate and continue to grow, what are some of the key success factors, do you think, in terms of how a company goes from that kind of early stage Series A or seed funding, like some of the startups that are in the room? How do they really then go about that scale up operation into the later rounds of series funding? What would you say are some of the things that you've seen along the journey of Ultraleap as to how you continue to grow?
It's a very good question, and you're right. It's sort of, when you're at Series C level, you've got to prove that you can turn a great idea and a great technology into something so useful that a lot of people are prepared to pay for it, and not just ideally pay once, but actually keep coming back. And I think that's sort of the heart of scaling up. How do you achieve stable revenue growth without adding vast amounts of people to your organization? So that's where, of course, where you can learn a lot from others. You have to look at your business models. How can you move from one-off sales to perhaps subscriptions or rental models or things that give you recurring revenue, very important, and helps you get stable revenue flows that are easier to manage and easier to sell to the financial markets. But also, how do you scale your platforms internally to engage with customers? What kind of software do you need? So we've moved to Salesforce, for example. We use Pardo for managing CRM data and email campaigns. So we have a developer community of many hundreds of thousands of developers around the world who've used our SDK, our software. So you need tools to do that efficiently. And you don't want to do one size fits all. So you've got to start segmenting and thinking about how do you inspire people and keep your content and your message relevant so that people feel looked after and that they want to engage with you. So things like that in my domain around marketing and product are quite relevant. And also always, of course, a look at what else can we offer? What else it should be on the roadmap? How can we improve what we do? How can we sell more and add more value?
Yeah, okay. That's I think, yeah, we're really, both of you drawing out a similar point there around really look up when you're in that startup stage, when you're growing, really look after the people that are engaging with you as a business, be those, by the sounds of it, be those the developers that are using your platform or hardware, or of course your customers are absolutely critical. Well, I know we're starting to run out of time, so we'll try and wrap up in the next few minutes because I know the important stuff has to happen afterwards, which is the one-to-one meetings, hopefully, for all of our startups. So let's just wrap up by talking a little bit about this year. I'm not sure if we can do this quickly because it's been an absolutely mad 12 months for everyone, but obviously this has been the ultimate test for all businesses and particularly small businesses to get through the COVID-19 pandemic and keep sailing. What would you just say to the startups have been some of the key learnings of how your companies have continued to exist, I think, is the main success for all of us at the moment, but to exist and to keep that steady growth just ticking over when we have very hard economic times. I mean, obviously the pandemic's been this year, but there are always going to be other examples of hard economic times in the future as well. So last kind of thoughts around that, please.
Yeah, so I'm just, very quickly, obviously the, coronavirus and the pandemic had a massive impact, especially on, companies like ourselves where the product is very experiential. Our route to market historically was go to an event, put a headset on someone's head, they're amazed, and away we go. And we're working together. But I think obviously last year forced us to completely rethink. Some of those things will be obvious in terms of how we rethink the go-to-market. We needed to shift to an entirely digital led approach and thinking about how we can use remote demos, how we can use video material, how we can empower the sales team, essentially to spend most of the year talking over Zoom or Microsoft Teams. It also forced us to rethink our KSPs, key selling points, especially as the industry pivoted to caring much more about hygiene and hygienic usage in teams and much more about remote collaboration. But it also forces, I think perhaps as an idea, as a thought starter for everybody, to seek out partnerships that maybe we wouldn't have been so aggressive at seeking or deploying. So, for such a small company, last year we partnered with Boeing on their Starliner astronaut training, with Lockheed Martin on their prepared flight simulation software, with Kia Motors on real-time car design, real-time mixed reality collaboration in car design, to really kind of and perhaps just one final thought, and also for everybody, because I appreciate sometimes we get a little bit too UK or EMEA specific, but one of the things we've also done is focused on our geographic expansion. Because it's not always the same situations everywhere. And if we look, we're now in 40 countries across the world, particularly across Asia Pacific. Some of the business conditions, the day-to-day account conditions are not quite the same as they are maybe, right now here in Western Europe with lockdowns across multiple countries.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I am really sorry, but I think we're going to need to wrap it up there because I think I've seen the time and gone, oh gosh, right, yeah, sorry, we're going over. So thank you both so much for all of your thoughts and contributions there. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you involved with Augmentor, and thank you as well for continuing to work with Digital Catapult generally.